My name is Amir Khan. I'm 13 years old, and I live with my family in a small, tight-knit neighborhood in Albany, New York. Before September 17, 2023, my life followed a rhythm set by faith and family. Every morning, I'd wake to the soft, melodic sound of my mother reciting verses from the Quran in the kitchen. Her voice a gentle constant in our home. My father, patient and devout, taught me the salat, the daily prayers, the specific words in Arabic, the precise sequence of bowing, kneeling, prostrating. He explained the importance of each movement, each phrase, as a sacred duty, a pillar of our faith connecting us to Allah, the merciful, the compassionate. I learned the motions well. 5 times a day, I would wash, face Mecca, and perform the prayers alongside my father and, when he was old enough, my younger brother, Sammy. I fasted during Ramadan. I listened to the stories of the prophets. I believed I was a good Muslim boy because I followed the rules, respected the traditions, said the right words at the right times. I understood God. I thought, through the framework of obedience, through the structure of the rituals passed down through generations. It was a framework built on love, yes, but also on a deep sense of duty and, if I'm honest, a subtle fear of getting it wrong, of displeasing the Almighty. But deep down, often in the quiet moments between the prescribed prayers or during the long sermons at the mosque, questions sometimes flickered. Who was this God I prayed to with such structured reverence? Did he really hear my sometimes wandering thoughts behind the Arabic words I recited? Did he care about the arguments I had with Sammy over video games, or the nervousness I felt before a big test at school? The God I learned about felt vast, powerful. Perhaps distant, concerned with cosmic justice and divine law, maybe less so with the inner life of a 13-year-old boy in Albany. I loved my family, respected my faith, performed my duties. But a personal, intimate connection felt elusive, like trying to grasp smoke. I thought following the rules was the connection. I didn't know how to ask for more, or even if I was allowed to. Until the night everything changed, the night my dutiful world dissolved and I was plunged into an ocean of unexpected, unconditional love. It started subtly, just a few days before. A scratchy throat, a feeling of weariness I couldn't shake. Then the fever hit, climbing relentlessly. Mom kept me home from school, plied me with soup and traditional remedies. Her brow furrowed with worry. Dad checked on me constantly between his work calls, his hand cool against my burning forehead. Sammy, usually my boisterous shadow, tiptoed around my room. His usual teasing replaced by wide, concerned eyes. Despite Mom's care, the fever raged. I grew weaker, drifting in and out of a hazy, uncomfortable sleep. Then came the chest pain. It started as a dull ache, then tightened, constricted, making each breath a struggle. It felt like strong hands were squeezing my heart, refusing to let go. Panic began to mingle with the feverish confusion. I remember Mom sitting beside my bed that evening, September 17, the room dim except for the glow of the hallway light. She held a cool cloth to my forehead, her hand trembling slightly. She was reciting verses from the Quran, familiar surahs meant to bring comfort and healing, her voice soft but strained with fear. I tried to focus on the soothing rhythm of her words, words I had heard all my life, but the pain in my chest overshadowed everything. Breathing became shallower, harder. A terrifying thought surfaced, am I dying? I tried to call out to her, to tell her how much it hurt, how scared I was. Mom. My voice was barely a whisper, raspy and weak. That single word seemed to take all my remaining strength. The world tilted, the dim light fractured into darkness, and I felt myself slipping away, plunging into a silent, bottomless void. My next awareness was jarringly clear, utterly silent, and profoundly strange. I wasn't in my bed anymore. I was floating near the ceiling, looking down at the frantic scene below. There I lay. My own body, frighteningly still, skin pale and clammy against the sheets. Mom was weeping hysterically, shaking my shoulder, calling my name. Dad knelt beside the bed. His forehead pressed to the floor in desperate prayer, his shoulders shaking. Sammy stood frozen in the doorway, tears streaming down his small face. The digital clock on my bedside table read 9:42 p.m. Seeing their grief, seeing my own lifeless form, should have filled me with terror or sorrow. But incredibly, it didn't. The physical pain was gone. The fear was gone. Instead, a wave of profound peace washed over me, silencing the panic, calming the confusion. It was a peace deeper than any sleep, more comforting than my mother's lullabies. It felt anciently familiar. Like the echo of those morning Quranic recitations resonating not in my ears, but in the core of my being. It wasn't detachment, it was a deep sense of being held, of being safe. Even as the scene below depicted the ultimate earthly crisis. And then, I felt a gentle pull, an invitation away from the grief-stricken room, towards something else. The pull intensified. Drawing my consciousness away from my bedroom, away from my grieving family. The familiar walls dissolved, replaced by an unfolding reality of breathtaking beauty. I found myself moving within a flowing current, not of water, but of shimmering, incandescent light. It sparkled and swirled like a river made of liquid diamonds or melted stars, warm, vibrant. And humming with an almost silent music, a harmony that resonated deep within my soul, a song of pure love and belonging. This river of light carried me gently but purposefully forward. Washing away any residual earthly concerns, filling me with a sense of homecoming I couldn't explain. Ahead, standing on what seemed like the shore of this luminous river, was a figure bathed in a soft, welcoming glow. As I drew closer, my heart leaped with joyous recognition. It was Mom. But like in Daniel Miller's NDE I read about. Not the mom I had just left weeping beside my bed, worn down by worry and life. This was Mom as she existed in my earliest memories, youthful, her face smooth and unlined. Her eyes sparkling with health and a gentle, loving amusement. She wore a simple, flowing garment of soft color, and her entire being radiated peace. "Amir," she said. Her voice not just heard but felt, like pure love given sonic form. "My dear son. You strayed a little, didn't you? You tried so hard to follow the path with your steps. But you forgot the path is walked with the heart. You forgot how immense the love is that holds you." Tears of recognition, relief, and a sudden understanding of my own shortcomings filled my spiritual eyes. I wanted to rush to her, bury my face in her embrace, apologize for every time I'd prayed by rote. Every time I'd obeyed out of fear rather than love, every time I hadn't truly appreciated her. But she simply smiled, a smile brimming with unconditional love and gentle understanding. And gave a slight nod, gesturing for me to continue moving forward, deeper into the light beyond her. Her presence was a comfort, a transition, a loving reassurance before a greater encounter. Trusting her silent guidance, I moved past her, and the light intensified, the sense of love deepened, becoming almost overwhelming. It wasn't just around me, it was me, and I was it. It felt like stepping into the very heart of love itself, a boundless ocean of acceptance, peace, and knowing. And there, within that ocean, I perceived him. Not as a distinct, separate figure initially, but as the source, the center, the very consciousness of the love that permeated everything. Then, his presence focused, taking on a form I could perceive. Though it felt inadequate to contain the immensity I sensed. He appeared as a man, clad in simple, seamless white robes, his features kind, his aura radiating incredible warmth and light. His eyes were the most captivating aspect, deep, ancient pools of compassion that seemed to hold the light of galaxies, looking directly into my soul, seeing every thought, every fear. Every hidden question, every flicker of hope, and accepting it all without condition. I had never seen his image in my mosque, only heard his name, Isa, spoken with reverence as a great prophet. Yet, my soul knew him instantly, profoundly. This was Jesus. Amir, his voice resonated within me, warmer than the Tennessee sun Daniel Miller described, gentler than my mother's lullabies. Yet carrying the quiet authority of the universe. It wasn't the voice of a distant judge, but of an intimate friend, a loving brother. You have questions in your heart. You seek to know the truth. You desire connection. Today, child, you will understand. He didn't wait for me to speak my confusion, he already knew it. His presence itself was the beginning of the answer. Jesus reached out and gently touched my shoulder. Instantly, my life began to unfold not like watching a film, but like stepping back into the moments themselves. Re-experiencing them with a heightened awareness, understanding not only my own perspective but the feelings of others involved, all viewed through the clarifying lens of his perfect love. The first memory was bright. I saw myself, maybe a year earlier, helping our elderly neighbor, Mr. Henderson, carry heavy bags of vegetables from his car up the steps to his apartment. He was frail. His hands shaky. I remembered feeling slightly inconvenienced at first, wanting to get back to my video game. But I saw myself doing it anyway, managing the awkward bags. I re-experienced the moment he turned to me, his wrinkled face breaking into a wide, grateful smile. "Thank you, son," he'd said, his voice raspy. "You're a good boy, Amir." I felt again the unexpected warmth that spread through my chest then, a simple, pure joy in having helped. Now, in Jesus's presence, I understood that warmth was the feeling of love in action. A reflection of his own nature. That small act, seemingly insignificant, shone brightly in this review. Then, the scene shifted, becoming heavy, uncomfortable. I was back in the school hallway. A group of older boys were taunting a smaller classmate, Omar, shoving him against the lockers, calling him names. I saw Omar's face, the fear, the humiliation. The desperate plea for help in his eyes. I saw myself standing nearby, frozen. Part of me wanted to step in, say something, tell them to stop. But another part, the stronger part then, was afraid. Afraid they might turn on me. Afraid of looking uncool. Afraid of trouble. I saw myself lower my gaze, turn, and walk quickly away, pretending I hadn't seen. Now. I felt Omar's shame and terror as if it were my own. And I felt my own cowardice like a physical weight, a suffocating blanket of regret. I hadn't acted out of love, or even basic compassion. I had acted out of fear. Another scene surfaced, me, kneeling on the prayer rug at home, reciting the familiar Arabic verses of the afternoon prayer. My lips moved correctly. My body performed the prostrations perfectly. But my mind? It was a million miles away, thinking about the soccer game later, wondering what my friends were doing. Mentally replaying a level in a video game. I felt the complete disconnect between the outward ritual and the inward emptiness. I was talking at God, not to him. And then I heard Jesus's gentle thought beside me, full of compassion, not condemnation. Even then, Amir, I heard the unspoken longing of your heart beneath the wandering thoughts. I was always listening. The cumulative weight of these moments, the times I acted out of duty or fear instead of love, the missed opportunities for kindness, the hollow prayers, pressed down on me. Compared to the ocean of love I was now experiencing, my own life felt so lacking, so small, so unworthy. I don't deserve to be here, I communicated to Jesus, the feeling a raw ache in my soul. I tried to follow the rules, but my heart wasn't always in it. I was often afraid, or selfish. Jesus's smile was infinitely gentle, his eyes radiating pure grace. "Oh, Amir." His voice wrapped around me like the warmest hug. "Worthiness is not the currency of my kingdom. Love is. You don't earn my love by being perfect. You receive it because it is my very nature to give it. I loved you before you knew your own name, before you uttered your first prayer. My love for you does not depend on your performance. Only on your willingness to receive. His acceptance washed over me, dissolving the shame, leaving only gratitude. Beside him, Mary's presence intensified. She stepped slightly forward, her gentle gaze reinforcing Jesus's words. She didn't speak aloud, but placed her hands softly on my forehead again. An overwhelming wave of pure, unconditional maternal love flowed from her touch, the kind of love that cherishes, protects, nurtures, without demanding anything in return. It felt like the embodiment of God's mercy, His tenderness. Her eyes conveyed a simple, powerful message: live truthfully, little one. Let this love flow through you to everyone you meet. Jesus then broadened my perspective. He allowed me to glimpse the state often called heaven. It wasn't streets of gold or mansions, but an indescribable state of being, countless souls, shimmering with unique light, yet interconnected in a vast, intricate web of pure love, joy, and shared purpose. There were no barriers of race, religion, or background. Everyone belonged, everyone was known. Everyone resonated in perfect harmony with the central source of love. It was vibrant, dynamic, filled with creative energy and ecstatic peace. It felt like home at the deepest level. Then, with infinite sadness, he allowed me to perceive the contrast, the state often called hell. It wasn't a place of fire and pitchforks, at least not as I perceived it. It was a state of profound, chilling isolation. A place of self-chosen separation from the light, from the love, from the connection. The beings there weren't being actively tortured by an external force. They existed in the inherent agony of having utterly rejected love, wrapping themselves in bitterness, selfishness, and darkness by their own free will. They had pushed away the light so completely that they could no longer perceive it, trapped in a cold, gray emptiness of their own making. The overwhelming feeling was one of tragic, eternal loneliness, a profound absence. I desire no one to choose this, Jesus communicated, his voice thick with sorrow, and I saw tears glistening in his luminous eyes. My arms are always open. The light is always shining. But I will not force anyone to receive my love. Love, by its very nature, must be freely chosen. Understanding this, the beauty of connection, the tragedy of chosen separation, the reality of free will, settled deep within me. This place of light, this ocean of love, this presence of Jesus and Mary and my mother, it was everything. True reality. True home. The thought of leaving was agonizing. But images flickered, Mom reading Quran, her voice now imbued with a deeper love I hadn't recognized. Sammy, my little brother, telling me one of his rambling, nonsensical stories, his eyes wide with excitement. Omar, the boy from the hallway, his face still holding that shadow of fear. My friends at school, going through the motions of life, perhaps as confused and disconnected as I had been. Could I leave them? Could I keep this overwhelming experience of love, a love that felt utterly universal, just for myself? A choice formed, tearing at my soul yet solidifying with resolve. I want to go back. I whispered into the light. I need to tell them. To show them. To live differently. Jesus placed his hands on my shoulders, his touch both a blessing and a commissioning. His smile was warm, understanding. Then go, Amir, he said. Live by the love you have felt here. Be brave. Be kind. Let your life be a reflection of this light. I am always with you. The light began to gently fade. His final words echoing in my spirit, remember, Amir, bring this light into the world. It is for everyone. My return was a sudden, jarring gasp for air, my body convulsing back into awareness. Pain flared in my chest, my head throbbed, my limbs felt impossibly heavy. The sterile smell of the hospital filled my nostrils. Bright lights assaulted my eyes. The rhythmic beeping of monitors sounded harsh and intrusive after the celestial harmonies I'd experienced. Mom was gripping my hand, her knuckles white. Dad stood beside her. his hand resting on my arm. When my eyes fluttered open and focused on them, their faces crumpled with overwhelming relief. Mom burst into loud, sobbing tears, hugging me tightly. Aggressive infection had overwhelmed my system, leading to sepsis and myocarditis, inflammation of the heart muscle. My heart had stopped. They didn't give a precise time. Just said the resuscitation was prolonged and complex. My survival, let alone with full cognitive function, was medically inexplicable, a 1 in a million outcome. They attributed it to aggressive treatment and perhaps underlying resilience. I knew better. It wasn't just resilience, it was divine intervention, a purposeful return. Explaining what happened during those lost minutes was the next challenge. How could I articulate seeing my mother radiant, meeting Jesus and Mary, the life review, the visions of heaven and hell? The overwhelming love, to my devout Muslim parents without causing confusion or distress. I prayed silently, asking for the wisdom Jesus had promised. When I felt strong enough, I sat with them, holding their hands. I didn't focus on labels or potentially divisive details. I focused on the essence. Mom, Dad, I began hesitantly, when I was gone. I wasn't alone. I felt God's presence. An incredible peace, an overwhelming love, bigger than anything I ever imagined. I described the light, the feeling of being home. I told them I saw Mom, my mother, looking young and peaceful, telling me I'd forgotten how great love is. My mother wept softly, nodding. I then spoke about encountering a being of immense light and love, who knew everything about me and accepted me completely. I described the life review, seeing how my actions, both kind and unkind, affected others, realizing that why I did things, love or fear, mattered deeply. I shared the feeling of forgiveness. Not because I earned it, but because the love was just that big. I explained the feeling of heaven as perfect connection and love, and hell as choosing separation from that love. Finally, I told them I chose to come back because I wanted to live differently, to share that love, especially with them and Sammy. My parents listened intently, their faces a mixture of awe, concern, and relief. They didn't question the reality of my experience. They held me close, tears in their eyes. My father, stroking my hair, said softly, "Allah is merciful, my son. He has shown you his boundless love and granted you a second chance. You must honor this gift." My mother whispered, "The love you felt, Amir, that is the essence of faith." They interpreted my experience through the lens of their own deep faith in God's mercy and love, finding resonance rather than conflict. While I knew I had met Jesus specifically, the overwhelming message I brought back was the universality of that divine love, a truth that seemed to bridge any perceived gaps. The focus became the fruit, living a life centered on that love. And my life did change, profoundly, from the inside out. The rules and rituals I once performed by rote took on new meaning. Prayer was no longer a recitation, it became a conversation. I still prayed the familiar prayers with my family, but now, my heart was engaged. I spoke to God, the merciful, the compassionate, the source of the overwhelming love I had felt, sharing my thoughts, my gratitude, my requests, feeling a genuine connection I'd never known before, picturing the loving eyes of Jesus, feeling the comfort of Mary's presence, knowing the Father's embrace. My actions changed too. The memory of seeing Omar bullied, and my cowardly inaction, burned in my conscience. A few weeks after returning to school, I saw him sitting alone at lunch. Taking a deep breath, I walked over. "Hey, Omar," I said quietly. He looked up, surprised, maybe a little wary. "Can I sit here?" We started talking, awkwardly at first. I apologized for not stepping in that day in the hallway. I was scared, I admitted. But it wasn't right. "I'm sorry." Omar just nodded. But something in his guarded expression softened. We talked about school, about soccer, about nothing much. But it was a start. I made a point of sitting with him regularly, listening to him. Being a friend. Seeing the gradual return of light and confidence in his eyes felt like fulfilling a tiny part of my commission. With Sammy, our dynamic shifted. Before, I often found his chatter annoying, his presence intrusive when I wanted to be alone or with older friends. Now, remembering the preciousness of connection, I made time for him. I listened, really listened, to his long, rambling stories about superheroes or schoolyard adventures. I played video games with him, not just alongside him. I laughed at his silly jokes. Seeing his face light up with joy at my attention felt like plugging directly into that heavenly current of love. I started noticing opportunities I'd previously ignored. Holding the door for someone. Offering a genuine smile to the cashier. Helping a neighbor carry groceries. Small things, yes, but now performed with a conscious intention of sharing the light, the love I had experienced. My perspective on my future electrical work even shifted, seeing it not just as a job, but as a way to serve, to bring literal light and comfort, to connect with people. Life isn't always easy. There are still challenges, moments of frustration. But the foundation is different. I no longer operate out of fear or mere duty. I operate out of the memory of that overwhelming, unconditional love. And the desire to reflect it, however imperfectly. I used to think God was a distant concept confined to scriptures and rituals. Now I know God is love, and He's intimately present. Woven into the fabric of existence, waiting in the quiet moments, speaking through acts of kindness, reachable through heartfelt connection. If this testimony has touched you or encouraged you to seek a deeper connection with the source of all love, please subscribe to this channel. We share powerful stories of faith, transformation, and divine encounters daily, aiming to uplift and inspire you on your own journey. Click subscribe, and let's continue seeking the light together.